leat that caintlín maidir le Cooley Margaíocht agus is dói Cooley Distillery taithí na bliantaige I gobar san Arnall Dríoglan agus annachid ólas aige dói Gné Margaíocht. So thanks a million, Johnny, for joining us today, man with a lot of experience, specifically in the drinks industry and the whiskey industry. And I'll hand it over to you now to share your experiences with us. Gurmagat.
Thank you, Sinead. Hope everyone hears me.
Perfect.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Brian and Anne-Marie for two very interesting presentations and two areas of business that are very important in the current climate to have both of them nailed down and properly organized, and really interesting insights from my point of view. So it's always good to learn something, no matter how long you are out and about. I'm going to try and share my screen here. Yeah, I'll go here. Okay. So, everyone see that? Okay. And what is that all, everyone okay on that?
Yes, you might put it to full screen, Johnny.
I have it full. All right, I'll do it here.
Or the presentation, yeah.
Is that on full screen there? It's on full screen where I am here.
Yeah, okay.
And hello everyone. Good afternoon. Oh no, it's good morning still. I wanted to give you a presentation today on my business, where it came from, where it's at, and maybe a couple of insights into what's happening in the business at the moment to keep it going, and especially how you deal with adversity in the current climate. I think I'll turn that off. So, 5 Farms Irish Cream Liqueur. The story of 5 Farms. Basically, I'm in the industry 25 to 30 years, maybe closer to 30 than 25. I don't like to admit that, but and all through that time, I've been involved in startup businesses. I've never worked for a multinational, and I've never worked in that environment. I've always worked in startup ideas. Some ideas work better than others, but I've always had an ambition to do something new or try something better or look at an opportunity in an existing area. So 5 Farms is very much a child of a career looking at different opportunities. And when it came to 5 Farms, what I knew most of all was I had to be very honest with myself to say that I knew what wasn't going to work. And by doing that, it led me in the right direction to create a brand that you see there as 5 Farms. Now, an idea is one thing, but getting that idea commercialized and getting it to the market is a completely different challenge. So I was too old, or maybe too war-weary in the business to go out to look at this and doing it on my own. I had seen that how difficult it was for an independent Irish company to access markets internationally anywhere. So even though the idea almost entirely came from my own experience, I needed a partner who was on the ground in the industry, who had the capability of bringing the product to the market, route to market, or I would have spent a lot of time convincing people what a good idea it was. This was a way of verifying it as well. Now, they weren't the only company who talked to me about this type of product, but they saw the same space. And the company was a company called McCormick's Distilling, and they're based in Missouri. I had known them for 20 years and I dealt with them on other products. But this was an idea that was really a challenge to me from the president of that company, Mick Harris. Could we do something different? And that was music to my ears. So I said, yeah, look, I've looked at this. I want to do something different. I think there's an opportunity, there's a space in the market. And I'll stop here and say, if you're in this business, not the drinks business, but if you're in the business to supply a product to the market, never stop looking at the opportunities, because sometimes these things are sitting in front of you and you don't see them. Five Farms is very much like that. Anything I did with Five Farms, I knew it. I knew where to go and I knew what to do, but I'd never sat down and decided to do it before. So always take time out to look back on what you're doing, because this is what the reason I'm saying that Five Farms is very much came from that. So when I wanted to do this product, I wanted to do something that do the best of what it could be. So we went for the high end, and we built in a few exclusive features that could only be made in Ireland. And now, just the third point, it is already the most successful super premium Irish cream ever launched, and that's credit to my partners in the United States. But it's also important is that we're dealing in one of the most competitive markets in the world, dominated by multinational companies, some of the richest and most strongest companies in the world. But even in that environment, there is an opportunity to have a successful product. So, that's and we've proven that at least. Now, it's one thing to tell everyone, for me to tell everyone it's a great product, but you need, and I have this in there, but you need industry endorsement. And this competition is the Oscars of the drinks industry. It's in New York every year, and we did very well at it. And you can read a little bit more detail that we got the highest score ever for a cream liqueur. So not only did we set out to make the best, the market recognized it as the best, and that's part of our story now going forward. Even more important, and I wanted to verify, because this is a chart of the rising stars in the drinks industry, and you can see at the very top here, you can see Mr. and I put it on. If you look very closely, you'll see a product called Proper 12. Well, that's Conor McGregor's whiskey. And you come down to Five Farms, and you see we've grown by 87%, and we got the award of the Rising Star. I don't think any Irish brand has ever won that before, but I'm not sure about that. And that's sales. That's sales out in the market. So that's, you got the quality award, and you got a recognition of that quality by sales into the market. So we were delighted how things were going. We're kicking into the burners to take off, and then the 2020 happened. But just I put in here what I've broken the subject because I'm always very aware that consumer and customer are used in the same breath all the time, and they're two very different animals, and you have to recognize that. So your consumer, and currently, because we are and where we are, communication. I need to be in contact, or my company needs to be, or my people with me need to be in contact with the end user as much as possible. You have to be frequent and appropriate. Regular news items that avoid controversy. I'll get on to that in a minute. Archive, record your fans. If you have a fan and out there, make sure you recognize. You never know when that fan's going to turn up on your doorstep, or you're going to go to a show and they'll talk to you like you know them because you've communicated with them. And how do you communicate with them today? You're on social media. You're talking to your end user on social media. You're telling them, and this anyone can go on your Facebook or your Twitter account and join up and be a fan, and you're encouraging that. And for small brands like Five Farms, this is a priceless piece of communication. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you couldn't get to the consumer this way other than by print advertising or media advertising, which was very expensive. But if I go back to the second point, regular news items that avoid controversy. You do not want anything controversial on your Twitter feeds or your Facebook. Now and that's very important that you stay away from. And we have decided to stay away from anything current affairs, no matter how passionate you feel about it. Now, there's some people listening here, maybe a very strong environmental ethos. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't alienate the consumer you're going after with your product. So, I'm in the drinks industry. Drinks industry is can be controversial. It's very topical at the moment. There's lots of people have opinions whether bars should be open or shut, off license should be open or shut. That's a different forum. What I'm talking about, what we talk about in this social media, is about the brand, and if you like it, this is how you consume it, and you keep the message appropriate for what you're talking about, and don't get logged on to conversations that aren't about what you want here. You want to sell more product. That's really what you're talking about. You're not there to change the world. You're there to sell more product, and keep that focus, keep that in your head at all times. Digital advertising, you're going out, you're telling people how to consume your product. People who come to your website, you want to become there for the feel-good factor to why they read what you present, and give them an engagement and an idea, and that's appropriate communication with your consumer, and that's really available to everyone from your desktop, from where I am in the attic in my house. You can contact everyone around the world, and that's something that COVID hasn't stopped, and appropriated and the message to whatever particular item you want to communicate at that point. Now, the customer is a different animal, because first of all, your customer is king. You can have the best idea, you can have the most money in the world, you can have the best partner, but if you don't recognize your customer as the most important element of your business, you'll eventually lose out, because the customer, I'm not a big fan of the term the customer is always right. But I am a big fan of the term the customer is always within its rights. So when you when you go up to a customer and you present your concept, your take on the market, you have to come through on that in all aspects. You have to stand up to what you're saying to that customer, and you have to know their business. Knowing their business will help everything you attempt to do with the customer. There is no business without customers. That was taught to me a long time ago. And no customers, no business. Doesn't matter how good your idea is. So always start whatever aspect of your business on the sales and marketing side is that how will the customer feel about this? And I'll give you an example where you can use multimedia and destroy your customer by doing what you think is something positive. frequent and appropriate. When you're talking to a customer, time is money for them. Stick to the subject. When you're talking to your customer, they need your relationship will build up when you're delivering messages that improve their business, because this selling is a process, and they're part of that process. You're part of the process, they're part of the process, and they need things to help them move that along. The oil that oils the cogs, keep everything going. Also, you have to personalize your customer, and slightly. I wouldn't go over the top on it. And this is, we're all very familiar with the term customer relationship, and that customer relationship is, in my book, isn't the guy you'll go to the pub with, or if you're out and about in the market, or you go golfing with at a weekend. The customer relationship is when he rings you, he can ask you a question you'll honestly answer, and he'll know that. And you build up that relationship with your customer that they trust, and it's all down to trust. Everyone's out to make money here, so your customer will try to make more money out of you, and you have to make more money out of him. But that's a fair game. It's your relationship will be established when you know that you can trust each other, and each other is working together for both to sell, because it has to work for them to work for you, and always keep that in mind. But have something personal that you remember about that customer. Just one thing, whether it's a football team, whether their daughter likes swimming, whether their son is a footballer, whether they like racing cars. Just one thing that that you have banked away that you can talk to this guy about. I'll give you an example. I had a customer in France years ago, and he was famous for not talking small talk, and he had a very unusual name. I'll not tell you what it was, but a very unusual name for. And I read on the sports page one day that there was this guy sailing across. He was leading the around the world yacht race, and he had the same name. The next meeting I had with this guy, at the end of the meeting, I just repeated the guy's name. Is he a relation of yours? And the guy sat back in his chair, and he said, "How do you know him?" I said, "I've been reading a lot about him because he's a famous sailor." He said, "Yeah, he's my cousin." Every meeting after that, we talked a little bit about sailing. And that was enough to break down. And today he's still, I don't deal with that customer anymore, but if I had something to sell him, he would listen straight away because of just that little bit of personal. So keep it business, keep it smart, recognize, respect your customer, but have something personal that you want to communicate with. That becomes very important when you haven't seen someone for a long time as well. So then, what do you do to the customer? You give them things. You give them things that help them sell the product. The classic push and pull. Everything you see that's displayed here, that's supplied in free to the customer, so they can sell my product. That's helping them. So you're helping them sell the product for yourself. You go in and you sample people in their stores. You pay for that yourself. You're helping them. You're helping the customer. You're meeting your consumer. You're helping your customer. You have to have items. You have, in the consumer business, you have to have products to give away. People love it. It's there. It's as important as any aspect of a discount or a price. People like these things. I can go and show you different themes that we have for our brands. Some work, some don't work, but you have to keep trying them. So really, just to come back and fit it all in, to sustain a business in a certain time, stay very close to your existing customer, consumer, and industry allies. You hold what you have first. It's a classic mistake for small businesses and businesses that are growing. They move on quickly to other markets, and they leave behind the customer that got them there. currently in this environment, it's very difficult to move on to new customers. It's very difficult to business development. Focus first and foremost is to make sure your existing customers or consumers and industry allies are aware of what you're doing. You're helping rack your brain for ideas for them to keep engaging with them. That's your job now. Your job last year or next year was going out and meeting them, talking to them, talking to consumers, going and doing those samplings. Your job today is on your laptop, making sure you're communicating with them, giving them things, ideas that help their business. That's your job now. You have to. That's my job. I'm giving, and that's the way we're approaching it, and from we are. You have to, and my next point, you have to constantly appraise your situation and be brutally honest about your project and business. Some things that you like doing, we all like doing certain things, mightn't be working at the moment. And some things that you never like doing might be the thing to do at the moment. The customer that you never liked, the customer that always treated you bad, you have to work harder now at all that thing, at all that aspects. I used to quote Shakespeare, "To their own self be true," because that's very important at this point, that you don't believe your own publicity, and it's quite easy to be sucked into a position where you're talking to yourself and you're making excuses for things that really you don't have the luxury in business for. You have to be very honest. You have to stay very active what you're doing. What's above and before is very active. That's your job now with the tools that you have. But you have to plan for the future as well, and you have to plan bigger. You have to come back out of this. This is the way I come back out of this current situation bigger and better, because the tide has changed, and it will this time next year with a bit of luck and a fair wind. COVID will be a bad memory because of the vaccine. So that's what you have to think. No one has the luxury of being pessimistic in business. You always have to. I used to characterize my business as like being a heavyweight boxer. You might get beat up in one round, but you get into the corner, get the water over your ice on your head, and get back out into the ring and go at it again. And at the beginning of this presentation, I told you that we had launched the most successful super premium Irish cream. Along the 25 years, there was a lot of false dawns for different products that I was involved in. So, don't give up, stay resilient, and you get out. This is what I'll be doing next year. Be back out into the market, meeting the consumers. I'm down in the corner signing a bottle at an event in Kansas City. This is what I'm planning now. Whether it's going to happen or not, I'm planning like it's going to happen, because why would I not? That's you have to go at it very positively. We'll be out. There's brand new ideas, that a way of selling the product that we want to get at next year. COVID has given us time to look at these things and say, could we do this different? So use the difficulty. Use the difficulty all the time to do something different, and that might be the opportunity you never had up until now. North, south, east, and west. You have to nowhere is out of bounds when you get back into the market. And I'm a great fan of the Rolling Stones. I don't know if they're a great fan of Five Farms. I wish they were, but we can't always get what we want. But if you try, you might get what you need. And that's really my message, is that you have to keep plugging and keep the work going, and don't give in and don't give up.
Thank you very much, Johnny. It's a world of advice and experience showing through there. We have a question for you from one of the attendees. From your experience in startups, did you have many failures, and how did these learnings help you to develop new businesses?
Yeah,
so then it says, what made you realize to give up on a business or a product? It often is very hard to tell a client that just because they think it's a product is great, and it really isn't, that, you know, that there isn't a market. I suppose there's two questions there, the learnings from failures, but I suppose also, and I think you referred to it there in one of your slides, kind of talk to yourself, talk tough, you know, in the sense of acknowledging if it's failing, it has to die, and move on from that. Or how do you deal with those?
Yeah, well, the first question is, yeah, I've been involved in a lot of failures. The thing about it, they say, you know, what you have to analyze is that maybe half the idea was on the money, another half was the mistake. So even when it's failing, find out why it's failing. And that's the most important thing. You can take bits out of it, you can build on it the next time around. So the idea, 20% of the idea might have been on the money. Hold on to that 20% and build on it. You'll see something different along the way. I've always done that. I've always looked at products that didn't work and why they didn't work, and try to find out why they didn't work. And it's very important sometimes that a product may have not worked because some part of the process didn't engage properly. And that could be that you're depending on an import company in a market, or you're depending on an individual in the market, and they're not really performing to what they need to do, and they'll come back to you and give you hundreds of reasons why it didn't work. So you have to be very skeptical what you listen to in the market. But certainly with ideas, always take something from the wreckage. Take something from the wreckage of a failed product and take it with you. Salvage something from it, and that may come back later in another project because the fact that you're holding on to it, there's something in that'll work the next time around. And that's how I approach it. Now, the second part of the question is, when do you realize it's not working? The important thing is you need to get to the coal face quickly on projects. Get to the coal face quickly. What I mean by that, get into upfront with it to consider you hear a lot about visualization in sport. You see the guys going up to going up to kick a point in their or kick a score in rugby, and they close their eyes and they visualize. This is part of their psychology to score. In business, and this you do, that's a very useful tactic. Is visualize who or where your product's going to be consumed or used, and get to that point as quickly as possible, even in a test, the test market, because that will very quickly tell you whether you're on the money or not. And believe me, I broke my heart on a couple of products that I believed them to be the greatest thing ever, but they weren't. And no one else thought they were the greatest thing. I thought they were okay. And okay is good, but you have to recognize that as well, that your idea might just be okay. You might have just got something that's good. It's not great, but it's good, and that may be a nice piece of business. And don't be disappointed if you get there, because that might be a platform for something else later. Yeah. So don't just they said, if establish the beachhead and get off the beach as quickly as you can, but get on the beach first, because if you don't, you'll drown in the water. And for an idea, if an idea if you have an idea and you're already doubting it, try and figure out someone or somewhere that gives it the best shot. You know, if this product got into this person's hand or this was exposed at this point, that will be a verification. Try and do that before you give up on it. But if you have to give up on it, fold. It's like playing fold
quickly.
Too far into the game.
Yes, thanks, Johnny. We have one last question, and it's a quick one for the full panel. Would you have any experience of individuals or competitors taking your ideas? This is from Eileen Davis. So, how I suppose the question there is, if you did, how did you handle it?
I had one this week, if you don't mind me. I had one this week. I saw a video on the internet, and the guy talking is associate of two other people I know, and there was something he said was very close to part of a mantra I have on something else. And I called a friend. I said, "You want to be careful who you talk to at the moment. You have to be careful on ideas, you know, because we all think we have the most unique idea in the world. But even my product, you know, there's nothing out there in the market that looks exactly like it. But it's that product wouldn't exist unless there was a major brand. I'll not mention it. The major brand created the category. Now that wouldn't exist, and so ideas, you have to be careful with ideas that you might believe they're unique to you, but very few. I mean, if you want to know if a product is unique to yourself, try and patent it. If it can't be patented, it's not unique, and that's, you know, so. But if people copy your ideas, you know, it's unfortunate, but